Mohammed Munir is a virologist and lecturer in biomedicine at Lancaster University in England. He told me China deserves high marks for its response to this outbreak.
I think since the start of this coronavirus, Chinese government has been very proactive, and they provided not only the information very quickly, but also they were very proactive in application of those control measures that were required to contain the infection. So now over 4 weeks been passed, I think that is the time we started seeing number of the cases decreasing, and that is where I think all of those control measures, those being put in place, are now paying off.
So, Mohammed, you're involved in some very interesting research. As a virologist, you study how to limit virus replication. So what were some of the things when you started to hear about this that you thought, boy, they better do this or that, or it's going to be a big problem?
Yeah, I mean, my research is really based on looking into some of the cellular factors, the natural immune system, how we can exploit that one to sort of restrict the infections. So in the beginning, the major question is really like, what is the pathogenicity of this virus? How bad it is? How transmissible is it? But once we have defined these parameters of the virus and the feature of this deadly virus, the next question comes, how can we exploit our natural immune system to sort of restrict this infection? And that's where my research comes in. We will be exploring in the near future.
You're involved in a project titled Emerging and Next Generation Vaccine Strategies. Is there anything out there that you see that holds promise when it comes to a virus like this?
Absolutely. We have existing technologies, especially we have learned so much from the previous coronaviruses such as SARS and MERS, and that information is really something that put us on a front line to devise better control strategies. As I mentioned, we have some information from different viruses, related viruses, the cousin viruses we call them. However, there is still some information that need to be collected from this particular virus, because it came with some surprises as well. So until we have all those information available, proposing an effective and reliable vaccine is really one of the major challenges that whole of the scientific community is working on.
And as we kind of go along this process, we get more and more information. I mean, recently there's a study out that shows that it's really not impacting children that much. There's something out today that says men have a higher risk of death than women. Piece all of these together. Why are these pieces of information so important?
So based on this information, we do understand that the virus overall is highly contagious and infectious. It's moving from one person to another person very effectively, but it is less lethal. But there are a few things that are really important to understand at this stage. Although we say the percentage is lower in terms of mortality, in terms of deaths, but overall, if we look onto the number of people who have died in 1.5 months, they are triple than what been died in SARS in 1.5 years. So overall impact is really high. Although we do understand from this study and from the previous continuous reports that the people who are having underlying causes or are elderly, they are more prone to this infection, but that does not mean that we need to sit easy onto the emerging phase of the outbreak for any gender or any age.
So one final question for you. What are your fears moving forward, and what would be signs that you would look at and say, okay, well, we're turning the corner on this thing?
Well, at this moment, I think there are two major concerns for me. First is that virus should be contained in the countries where there is a poor healthcare system, because we started seeing the approach of this virus in Africa, starting from Egypt. Egypt is probably relatively better than many other countries, but if the virus reaches to the thin economies where the infrastructure is poor, that is where the devastation leads to. And the second thing is that we do understand the vaccines are the solution. However, at this stage, we are not really looking into that vaccine will become available within 2 months or so. If we are looking for the vaccine as a long-term solution, at this moment, the major solution is really onto the containment and control strategy that need to be put in place.